Welcome to the Dumpster Fire Project, a podcast that memorializes the fantastic and oftentimes catastrophic entrepreneurial journey of two unremarkable middle-aged men.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Dumpster Fire Project. Today we have a very special episode. We're here at Dead Bear Brewing in Grayling. We have a man known as Krebs here. He's going to step us through his story. We're in his brewing room right now, so if you hear a little bit of noise in the background, just roll with it. It's totally cool. We're having a good time. So with that, we're going to hand it over to Krebs. We're going to have him just step us through a little bit of his background. So it sounds like you're from the UP, moved down around the Kalamazoo area, and then ended up here. So just walk us through that.
So got out of the UP in 2006 after high school. I was getting in like a solid amount of trouble up there. So I went down to Kalamazoo as to get away from it, right? One of my best friends was down there. So moved in with him. I actually, one of his roommates is my current wife now. So I met my wife down there, met a huge group of friends, learned how to brew beer by like living in the Bell's General Store, kind of just going in there all the time. I worked at Shakespeare's Pub, so I got to try tons and tons of beer and kind of bounce my recipes off of them. And we decided, we took my father-in-law to Shorts, and we're like, yeah, look at this place. You know, he was like, oh, you brew better beer than this, you know, or like just as good, you know. So why don't we do this up here? And I think, you know, he wanted to move us up here because he wants to be closer to his daughter. But at the same time, that's what we want to do. So we, you know, made our business plan, came up here. I got hired at this place, and it was called Mainstream Steak and Ribs. And it was kind of a struggling new place. So we were like, hey, how about we buy in and fix it? And so we took it over. Within a year, we added a huge addition, changed the name to Dead Bear Brewing Company, did our grand opening 2014 on Halloween. So every year we get to party real fun and hearty on Halloween.
Cool.
Because we love Halloween. Yeah. And that's one thing I miss about Kalamazoo. It's Halloween. Like it's like a month, you know. But so yeah, and here we are. We've waded through a lot of shit to get to where we're at now. You know, dealing with a previous business that was, you know, kind of failing. Also, a lot of the, you know, previous workers had a preconceived notion about what their job was or what they were going to do. You know, they had been working in this industry for a long time and maybe were doing things the way they'd been taught 40 years ago. And it's like, yeah, but you're going to do it my way now. So now we have like our best staff ever. You know, we're able to, you know, during this whole growth process, you know, we moved up here, we got married, we had a baby, we bought a house, you know, and it's just been like boom, 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 one thing after another. So to get to where we're at now is just so nice. Like it's so, when you got people that actually give a shit, and whether they give a shit just because they give a shit about the job that they do or they give a shit about you, I really don't give a fuck. Yeah. Just do your job, you know, and then we're all good, right? You know, you doing your job makes me have to do less of my job. So, you know, the less awkward, shitty conversations I have to have in an office or in my brewing room, the better. Sure. You know?
So how long did it take you till you got through all the hard times and started to plateau and just started to enjoy it a little bit?
Oh, man. I gotta say, probably within the last year or so. So really? From 2014 to 2019, last year we reassessed a lot of our numbers and we're looking at our food cost really closely. And our kitchen manager at the time was having a hard time controlling food cost. Well, we had to reassess that big time. You know, it's like, hey, within the first 8 months of this year, we could have made $60,000 more, you know, profit. What are you doing? So over the last year, we've kind of been working that out. And then at the beginning of this year came to a head and we let go, you know. So Valentine's Day weekend was a really busy, rough weekend. And, you know, he was just getting lackadaisical about his job. And the wife was getting ready to start chemo that week. And so it was like, all right, man, we need you and you aren't here. So you wanted to have an argument? Bye-bye.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of shit, you know, where it's like, dude, life is weighing pretty heavily right now. I could use about 1,000% less bullshit at work. I'll cover.
Yeah.
I'll cover all day.
Yeah. And that's
You guys are killing me. You guys are killing me. I keep seeing you grab those beers and drink them, and I'm sitting here in my home office with a like a glass of crappy Folgers Keurig coffee. Damn it.
Yep. It's the benefit of being in Michigan. You get all the good beers
all
around
the good
here.
craft beer, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's one thing I miss about Michigan is all the good beer up there. It's starting to catch on a little bit in New Mexico, but it's mainly in the northern part of the state. You got Santa Fe Brewing. What's the other one? Marble is a big one. I don't think it travels well. I don't know. Have you ever seen any of that New Mexico beer in Michigan, Murray?
No.
That I brought it back for Christmas?
The only time I've ever seen it was when you brought it for Christmas.
Yeah,
That was it.
I was the first person. Most people don't even know New Mexico is part of the United States. My mom always says, like, I don't want to come visit you because I got to get a passport.
Yeah.
Albuquerque, what?
Yes.
Nice. All right. So back to the story. Curious, is there a story behind the name?
So the name, when I was I think my senior year of high school, I was getting my portfolio ready to go to art school. So I wanted to go to art school at Western. I ended up finishing my portfolio, but not in time enough. So I did do some classes, some intro classes, and gen ed stuff at Western, but mostly, just bullshit and got put on academic probation. But before this, I thought it'd be funny there was this teddy bear sitting around while I was painting in my basement. And I've always had insomnia, so I used to paint at night. So it's me down in the basement. I look at this teddy bear and I kind of laughed at how dead they look, and how, oh, it's so cute, but it looks like a dead thing, So I was like, oh, it'd be funny to paint one with just its, looking like it looks, but shot in the head and bleeding out. So I have this really kind of basic generic painting that's not really, it's not a Bob Ross by any means, it's very basic, not layered well or anything, but I used to put it in all my houses in Kalamazoo. And so people would be like, when I started homebrewing, it was like, hey, what would you call your brewery if you opened one? And I was like, oh, Dead Bear Brewing. And then I started using it, when I'd write a recipe and I write all my brewing notes in specific notebooks. Just like mead, lined note paper. And I would write in the corner above the recipe, I would do a drawing inspired by the beer. So an agave wheat lime beer is like a dead teddy bear strung out on a cactus, like a sombrero, okay. or I have one called the Funks, which is a honey lemon beer. So it's a teddy bear getting stung by a bee, with some drops of honey coming and a lemon right there, and just anything like that. I have a Bell Dog Oatmeal Stout. That's my dog's name. It's my dog tearing a teddy bear to shreds, So it just became this concept that was so easy to come up with something for that. It was like, oh, that's what it has to be. It'll be Dead Bear. And I have a couple other art concepts that if Dead Bear fell through, I got another really fun one that's I've got a full portfolio sized thing of these drawings, but so it makes it very easy for me to conceptualize things, to make, if I want to make a t-shirt for it, it's I got a beer called Maple Bacon Porter. It's a pig head floating in a beer glass, with maple syrup drizzling on it, so just anything that can it's my kind of morbid style, my darker, it allows me to be a little more punk rock with the place, I guess, but at the same time being wholesome, family friendly. When you look in the building, it's not punk rock,
right.
Yeah, Bob's paintings are up, but other than that, it's you're oh, this is a really nice, place.
Yeah.
Looks like a camp kind of,
Yeah.
So.
That's cool because it allows you to combine two different pieces of art. So I know we were talking about earlier where brewing, you said there's a lot of science behind it, clearly, but
it's art.
Is there an art?
That's what I always say. What I love about brewing is it allows me to do all the things that I love, take all the things that I'm obsessed with. I'm like a hobby. I have way too many hobbies, right? So all the things that I love to do, whether it's reading, drawing, anything like that, the creativity of it. Well, all the reading and pop culture that you consume can be beer names. I have a beer named, and it's funny because some other breweries recently have been kind of taking this name, and obviously they didn't steal it from me. They're nerds like me. I have a beer called Your Mother Was a Hamster, and it's an elderberry wit beer, and it's a nod to Monty Python, right? Your mother was a hamster, and your father reeks of elderberries. Well, there are a bunch of other beers like Your Father Reeks of Elderberries, I think exists, and I'm pretty sure that my name got taken too. I didn't trademark the shit, whatever.
Right.
But Shorts, I went into Shorts one time, and I was pissed because they have Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster. Well, I fucking love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I'm like, these sons of bitches took the name. Are you so it allows you to take all those creative outlets that you have, and our generation is the pop culture generation, we make everything is like, oh yeah, when Ren and Stimpy was on, or when, the Ninja Turtles were on, or this or that or the other thing, we relate a lot of things to pop culture. It makes it so much easier to do beer, right? That's how it's so much easier to conceptualize, whether you're using the Dead Bear or you're using hey, I just went, the Maple Bacon Porter, for example, was somebody else's beer, has similar characters, but I was like, I like maple syrup with that. Boom, or there's quite a few of those, where you're thinking of something else. I have one that's a cucumber lime beer. When my wife was pregnant, we went to a restaurant and they gave her a mocktail.
Yeah.
And it's basically that, So, but any of those outside influences that inspire you, whether it's cooking, pop culture, whatever, you can throw it into that beer, and maybe you can pick out your fun customer. That's where I do it with Your Mother Was a Hamster. The guy that knows that and gets it is now my new favorite customer, right? Right away. It's oh, this is who I'm talking to today, right?
Of course.
This is who's going to push the beer. That too. This is who's going to enjoy the beer, enjoy my company, and push the beer when he leaves.
Sure. Yeah.
And go back home and say, whether that's my intent or not, that obviously when we're customers, I love the bullshit too.
Yeah.
So
that seems
One
like
of
a
the
win-win
things-
scenario.
mm-hmm.
One of the things that I noticed on that topic is nostalgia for our generation seems to be a big thing that's making a comeback. So if you make some sort of 8-bit beer, I'm sure that's going to be a big seller.
Oh, yeah.
I'd buy it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I saw one. We have a can of one with Chunk on it, doing the truffle shuffle.
Oh, yeah.
And it's oh, fuck yeah. You have to have the can. You need the can. I mean, come on. That
Collector's
anything.
item.
Yeah, it is. It's fuck, man, I need to just get that muraled on my wall.
Yeah.
Just that poor kid. Think about that. Hey, you're fat. Yeah, you're gonna jiggle your gut for America, boy. Richard Donner, deal with it. Spielberg wrote this script, and I'm directing it. Jiggle that belly, boy. Think about that shit. That's fucked up. That might be a little off topic, but holy shit. Plus, you imagine making your friend jiggle their stomach before you let them in your house.
Hey, everybody's got to make a living somehow.
I guess. Jesus. That guy didn't do anything else for the rest of his life. That's all he's poor guy's known for. And he's skinny now, I believe.
Yeah. Interesting.
Poor fuck.
It sounds like it sounds like you had a marketing scheme without even planning on it. So now it's just something you can just hop on and still have fun and keep going.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you were purposeful about when you started the company besides marketing? I mean, especially your story, you go from just doing it in your garage or friends' houses and stuff, and next thing you know, within a couple months, you could potentially be up and running. So it's what were the biggest things you had to think about going into it?
Oh man. See, and this is kind of where when I talk to people now about doing it themselves, there's a lot of pitfalls that I fell into that I wish I wouldn't. I was really into Dogfish Head's story, and they started on this little half-barrel system, right, from Sapco, and it's a great system for home brewers. But to start like that, I was chasing the carrot, and then you get customers that don't understand the fact that you're already in here for 60 to 100 hours. You only have 2 beers on draft because you're brewing 13 gallons at a time, which is nothing. If anybody buys a growler, it's oh no, that's a half gallon, So, so to try to keep up, there was a lot of oversights that we had, but some of those other things, I knew as a prerequisite that I wanted a bigger walk-in cooler. I knew that I needed, certain style of of grain room. We knew kind of what we wanted as far as like our patio goes and the addition. So there were prerequisites as far as that stuff goes. But a lot of it, because I didn't have the professional experience, has just been wing it as you go, read, and that's kind of it. Like anytime I go to a brewery, if I'm not super like outgoing, like, hey, where's your brewer? Can I talk to that guy? But if I did actually happen to incidentally talk to somebody, I'll pick their brain, figure stuff out. We've gone to some conferences, especially homebrewers conferences in the past, where there are professional brewers there. So it's like, hey, we're just kind of here hanging out and drinking beer, but let's pick each other's brains. And then getting to now, like now I know a lot of the brewing community. So like, we're really good friends with the Right Brain. So if I have any questions, I just holler at those guys. And,
nice.
We and it's funny because we got with them because our pump wasn't working. And we were like, well, who are we like the best friends within this industry? Called them, dude comes over, helps us fix our pump, and we're collaborating with them and shit now. But yeah,
nice.
We definitely ran into a lot of stuff that I wish I would have. And I don't know how the research would have been experienced, So coming from my standpoint, I don't think that some of the things that that I think, oh man, I really wish I would have done this now, or really wish I would have done this, that I would have been able to foresee.
Right.
Now I can give people that advice. Like there's been a few other breweries that have opened recently that have talked to us, and I'm like, hey, do this, don't do this. Do not buy into a pre-existing business and try to fix it. Do not.
Yeah.
Like, just don't. That's literally the worst thing you could ever do. If we would have just closed it and rebuilt, even using previous employees, but rebuilt, totally from the ground up, I think we would have been better off.
Interesting.
There was a lot of shit that's like, oh man. Like I just look back. I constantly am looking back, and when I'm having a bad time now, I'm like, oh, but think about before. Think about when you had, like when we had our baby, like we got like 2 weeks of like, hey, you're good. My wife couldn't come in, and she had a rough delivery. So like she couldn't come in and work, even if she would have wanted to. I was working like when I could, so like a lot of nights, and I'd come in here, the place would be trashed. Then everybody wants an attaboy. And you're like, well, dude, I can't tell you you're doing a good job when you're not doing your job. So there's been a lot of rough times, rough years where I can look back now and go, oh, like we're doing really good. We got great people. There's some people that have been here longer than me, technically, because they were here at the previous business. There's one girl that's been here for 7 years, or almost 8 years, 6.5 years or 7 years, and I've been here like 7 or whatever, 6. So
yeah. You guys heard it here first. I mean, this is what we always talk about. You don't know what to do, but just try it anyways. You'll learn as you go. That's why we're called the Dumpster Fire Project. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. But I mean, if you can avoid some of those big ones and just have a head on you, know how to pivot. I mean, the man's telling you exactly what we've been saying. Listen to him.
Talk to somebody,
if not us, listen to him.
Talk to somebody who has done it before. Do your best to like find somebody, seek somebody out, and talk to somebody who's done it before. It's easier that way. You're not gonna. They're going to tell you all the things that like, hey, you can do that, but, it is.
And that's why we do part of this, too, because there's so many people out there who have learning lessons. I mean, we've got our own. Eric's got some. I mean, the more you do that, the more you network. Like, you just start piecing it all together.
Exactly. Well, and because all these businesses, too, it doesn't matter whether you're in, I don't just use stuff from the restaurant business, right? If you're in, and vice versa, a lot of other businesses – you can benefit from learning somebody else's business plan or some of their other pitfalls, especially we're all dealing with employees most of the time. And when you're dealing with the staff, there's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
A lot of issues. It's human issues, man. I mean, that's you got to, because you have to be able to pull yourself back sometimes and go, well, what do they have going on in their life? What do they have? Anything like that. There's so many variables to a business. Yeah. Everybody, you can go into a restaurant and eat there and go, oh, these fuckers don't know what they're doing. But ultimately, do you really, even if you worked in a restaurant, do you really know what it takes to run one?
Right.
Probably not. It's in, that's the other thing is like, the mindfulness, people have a really hard time being mindful or understanding somebody else's plight, so to have, that's why it's a good thing that I have this brewing room to be in, because my wife is way better at understanding that people just suck sometimes.
Yeah.
She can take it where I'm like, all right, stand the fuck up, get outside.
Nice.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned,
I mean your burger.
One of the things that you mentioned, Krebs, I thought was interesting, because Murray and I talk about this, and I suffer from it, I'm sure a lot of people do, is when I look in the video and I see all this equipment back there, and you're thinking, like, there's no way that I'm ever going to be able to build a business like this. But rather than getting stressed out and saying, like, well, I can't do it, you just did it, and you kind of learned as you went.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you want to call it, taking the step, taking the leap, but a lot of people, they just sit back and say, I can't do it, it's too much, because it seems so daunting. Tell us a little bit about your process, about how you just said, did you ever have a time where you looked at it and like went to a brewery and be like, my God, I can't build something like this?
I think that's the difference. I think the people that it's doers versus there's a really good, I have it on the wall actually. It's a quote from a song, and it says, "You could dream a little dream, or you could live a little dream. I'd rather live it, because dreamers always chase but never get it." Right? So it's nice. Have a dream, but you got to be a doer. You got to be somebody who's going to do it. You're gonna take advantage of the tools that you personally have, and then utilize the tools and things that other people have. It's that collective, it's, you have to be able to be like, yes, there's got to be a figurehead, right? Somebody who, you don't want the too many chiefs, not enough Indians thing, but somebody's got to make those decisions and be willing to dive headfirst sometimes, and go, hey, we've never put a brewing system together. Well, our crew, this same brewing system is in Founders, and the guys that sold it to them, we had ours done in like couple days, because we were working 16-hour, 18-hour days trying to get this thing running as quick as possible. And they were like, wow, you guys did that quick. And it's like, well, we don't got time. When we put out an investment like this, we don't have time to sit. If I had the millions that a business like Founders has to do a pilot system to play with, yeah, they can sit and take the time they want. But we are gonna, I'm all about doing. I don't ever see myself as having limitations. I'm in, sometimes to a fault, but most of the time to my benefit. And I think people with that kind of, I don't know, a lot of people say A personality or whatever, people with that specific type of personality that have that kind of confidence, whether it's in themselves or in the others around them, or expect more out of themselves or the others around them, I think is what you need to have, or at least push it into yourself, because, I have anxieties, everybody does, but you got to be able to do shit. You just got to be able to do it. Sometimes you got to look at yourself and go, okay, I can do, and that's kind of what I said with brewing. I knew, I read a lot. I understood a lot about the process. I didn't think that it would take me the hands-on work that somebody else necessarily has to do for years and years to learn how to professionally do it. That's just my confidence in myself. And then having my palate kind of rounded out by Shakespeare's gave me the further confidence to go, oh shit, like I know what I'm doing, So then I got the people around me that could build shit and do that. The only thing I wish is I had a group like of friends that were able to at the time move up with us, because the job pool here is so small that it's really hard. This is one of those areas where great people here, but it's one of those places where people go, well, this is how we do it here. And it's like a really weird, you're like, but where I come from, it's like do it right the first time kind of thing. Like that's how I was taught. That's how I was raised, and that's kind of how, in my opinion, most people are raised, like whether you're in the UP or you're in like a lot of the people that I know from Escanaba area have very similar mindset to people in the lower east side of the state, where it's just a work hard, get it done, do it right the first time shit, and that's it. So most of my friends that I met in Kalamazoo were all from like Flint, Lapeer, Detroit area, like all down that side of the state, because for whatever reason, we're workers. Yep. I don't know if it's the blue, probably the fact that there's a lot of blue collar industry, so it's like GM and all those, and Ford and stuff, all in the Detroit area. And then we have the paper mill and stuff in Escanaba. So all those parents taught their kids, like, this is how you do it, So that's one thing that I run into here. But yeah, I think it's ultimately, it's the confidence that you have in yourself. It's that, yes, you can dream it, but at a certain point, the dream's got to stop, and it's got to be an active, I'm doing this, Sure. So it's all about confidence. confidence and knowledge. If you have the knowledge, you should have the confidence. You know?
Do you think something that helped you get over that the fear was the excitement piece too? Like, were you mentally like, okay, focus on the excitement, like, let's get this going. Like, I'm opening my own place. Yeah. Like, just keep building off that.
Keep building off that. Keep building off, like, the new things that you're getting. So, like, as you get a new piece of equipment, all right, here's something else. And all this stuff is learning. So, like, when we got this whole new equipment, I'm learning. I'm becoming a boiler expert. I don't know anything about low-pressure steam boilers, so now I do. I know a hell of a lot about them, right? I got to fix them. Sure. So I had to learn about that. I had to learn about water softening. I had to learn about glycol. I have to run a glycol machine. And it's just, you take those things, you take the manual, you read it. We have good old YouTube nowadays, so pop on there. Hopefully some brewer that ran into the same shit as I did posted his thing where he figured it out. Or call somebody or call somebody you don't know, because most of the breweries in the state are willing to help you whether you know them or not. And that should be the case in most business. Why wouldn't, hey, I'm a fellow Michigander. I'm trying to do this. I'm not in your competitive. As far as restaurants go, we shouldn't be competing. We should have our own niche, and we should all do something different and do what we're good at, and then everybody will come and share business with us, right? Sure. But if you're in something else, it's like, hey, just call that law firm in not in your town, but in the other town, and say, hey, how did you guys get started starting your own firm or whatever? If you want to franchise a McDonald's, or call somebody who's potentially done it before. Go on Reddit, go on YouTube, whatever, and I guarantee you the information's there for you to a point.
Yeah, we're almost spoiled in this era. Like, everything that's available to you.
It's right there. You don't have to go to
that. Yeah, like back in the Bug and Horsey days. Yeah. Like, what?
Is there a book about that?
How am I going to start anything?
I'm going to go to the library and look that up.
There's one book about how to start a company.
Right, and it's from like 1820.
I went to the library about a month ago, and it's the first time I've been in like 15 years, because I was looking at the price of these books on Amazon. I'm like, I'm not going to pay $30 for this.
Right.
There's this building where I can get it for free. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. I know what this is. Yeah, same thing with YouTube. Like, it's getting insane. When I was in high school, I could barely change a tire on my car. I go on YouTube, and I'm like installing a lift kit and like changing out the exhaust system.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's so beneficial. Yeah, I think about when I first put a stereo in a car, and it was like, well, we kind of messed it up, but then we called the guy that knew how to do it a little bit, and he helped us, called us idiots, and But now it's like, oh, I knew how to do that right away because I went on YouTube. The guy installed the harness, the wire harness right in front of my very eyes. So the only way I could mess it up is if I'm real slow, So yeah, we are kind of spoiled in this generation. Now, I do feel like technology can hold us back to a point, where we're so tied to work, or we're tied to our phones and things like that. But at the same time, I mean, if you want to know who the hell the guy is in Ninja Turtles with the freaking hockey mask, you can look up Casey Jones. Bam, I know now, 2 seconds later. Whereas in 2004, you're going to sit there and punch yourself in the head until it popped in your brain, something. Yeah. So that's nice. I mean, I want to know who those obscure characters are.
Are you guys using social media at all? Because I think Murray and I both were like, man, we're not big in social media, and I still haven't figured out Instagram yet. I need to watch a YouTube video.
Hate social media, right? So
says the guy doing a video podcast.
Oh my god, it's super.
I'm just messing.
Over COVID, I got Instagram because I was so bored, and I do like grip training, and there was a small group of guys that do like card tearing and grip training on only Instagram. So I got it for specifically that reason, and I feel like such a douche. Like, I mean, because I don't want to be tied down to, like, I don't do my Facebook life. Like, this is my fake. I smile in every picture. This is me every time I'm doing something fun, and this is not how life is. Like, life isn't that way. Now, when we do take pictures, yes, and you show them at home, they're going to be smiles and shit. But every day, like, look what I'm doing. It's either pity me or give me an attaboy, and that bothers the shit out of me. But as a business, we need it. So, like, our Facebook, we do. I don't do it. Our assistant GM does it, or my wife does it. We're just getting back into Instagram, but like Twitter and stuff. I just have such an issue with it. It bothers me so much that we have to do it. It's free. That's what, like, everybody, we're having a board meeting is pushing it so hard that, like, this is the thing now. And it's like, guys, but it's so lame. It's so lame that we've got to this point where we have to be connected to our phones. If you're standing in line at a bank that everyone's looking down at their phones because they feel so uncomfortable to even look at each other in the eye. That's what I have a problem with it. But yeah, you fucking need it. It's such bullshit. You need it.
And
it sucks.
One thing we've talked about too is there's too much out there.
Yeah.
So you got to pick one or two platforms and just focus on that. Like
it's same with business. Pick the thing that you're good at and do it well. If you're doing fucking Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and the other thing, it just gets to be too much, and it gets to be, like I said, I think it's fucking lame anyway. I think it's lame. I love, like, Stone Brewing. Stone Brewing doesn't even have signs for their brewery. They never have.
Really?
And they're one of the biggest breweries in the world.
Huh.
Their owner just hates signs.
Yeah.
And when you go to, like, California, you're like, where the fuck is this place? Good thing I have a phone to find it. But at the same time, I love that. Like, that's how I am. Like, why does somebody, if you like us, find us, man.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't have to constantly, we're in the era of just suck everybody's dick.
Yeah.
And you have to, because otherwise I'm going to post this.
Yeah.
What? Get out of here. How about I take that thing, I shove it up your ass, so far you can fucking taste it. And again, why I'm in the brewing room.
Right.
Because Jesus Christ. I want 20% off, or I'm fucking posting this shit.
Is your wife going to be pissed off that you did this podcast? Like, no one's going to want to come now.
No. She likes. I'm out front all the time, and I talk like this to people. It's just I'm a little more candid. Most people get it. Most people aren't like that.
I think people appreciate that. Like, it's too fake nowadays. Like, just be real with me. Like,
be
I'm
real.
over it. But
especially here in good old Michigan, it seems like people like want a little more realness. Like everybody's not so like detrimentally liberal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I do think you guys got a great piece of land here. Like, you get a ton of great marketing just being where
right
you're
off
located.
I-75.
Yeah, I mean,
it's perfect.
I was telling Justin on the way up here, it is just absolutely perfect. Like,
Traverse City traffic coming back through.
Yeah. Did you guys were you looking in this area, or how far did you look before you landed here?
So we were looking in Gaylord originally. When we came up here, we wanted to do it in Gaylord because Gaylord is a little bit bigger. It's got a little bit more population, and it's got a little more tourism, right? When we came here, like us and a couple other, like within 2 years of us coming here, 2 other breweries opened here. They just closed Kmart across the street. It's going to be a Tractor Supply Company, which hopefully brings some people from out of town. They don't have to go to just Gaylord or Holton Lake. They can come across the street, get some grain or whatever, the dog food, whatever the fuck, and then go, oh, there's a restaurant there. But yeah, we weren't looking at Grayling. We kind of actually got pushed into this. My wife's dad is very like, we need to do this now. We need to do this. So, blah, blah, blah. So we were looking at places in Gaylord, and they were so expensive. And this is the most ridiculous thing that's one of the most ridiculous things that's ever happened to me business-wise. We get this realtor, and he's showing us these properties. And it's just funny because the name of the realting company just so happens to be the same as the name as the owner on the properties. And I go, wait, so your boss owns these buildings? And the guy goes, oh, yeah. I go, so why the hell are you my realtor? Because you're not going to get me the best price for this. You're going to get him the best price for this shit. Like, what? So, needless to say, he didn't call us back. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like, thanks for the free hamburger, but you're trying to get him a good price. So we came here. I was already working here. They were not doing this right. So we bought in. We ended up, over the last few years, the guy that was here running it, we bought him out. And it was just the other partner that was the main investor. And then we're in the process of buying him out officially right now. So over the summer, we brought my parents in. We basically started, getting this guy out. We bought most of his share. We got a little bit more to pay off, but then now he's just, he doesn't have any say. It's like, hey, here's your rent, and you're out. He was not going along with. Gene and I run the restaurant, and one of the hardest things that we've had to deal with is that our investors, as great as they are for investing in us, think that somehow they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But they've never worked in restaurant business. They're just like businessmen,
Yep.
So we have them stepping on our toes constantly. And not as much anymore because we created a board for this business. And they understand that. I mean, nothing that we do here is ever personal, right? It's never been personal. Gene and I, my wife, are much better at not being personal kind of thing, So honestly, I would say the family aspect and the personal aspect has been the hardest thing about our business, period.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Having to argue with your in-laws about shit.
I can see that.
And every little business thing is taken personal as a very
You broke like the number one rule: don't go into business with family.
Right, you're right. And they had a family business before this that had affected their family. So it's really like when I look back at some of the decisions we made, it's like, guys, what the fuck? Why are we doing this shit to ourselves? But at the same time, when I say something to somebody, I mean it. I expect the reciprocal. So it's nice to be where we're at now. We got a board, so there's other voices in there where it's like if we're disagreeing, they're like, hey, these guys run the business. Yeah. That's kind of where we had to get to. Is like we run the business. We've been doing this for over 13 years in this industry. I know what I'm doing.
So you have a very unique thing here. You have an arm wrestle table. How many business decisions have you won and lost by using that thing?
See, now that would be the way to go, because I'll tell you what, I'm going to start doing that shit. I'm going to start going, oh, you want to decide this shit? Let's go to the arm wrestling table, because so what we do is it's 10% off merch, whether you win or lose. And I have customers challenge me all the time. It's just fun. I'm trying to get my right arm stronger. My left arm's good to go. I want to get good with this right arm. So random customers like to call me out. I'll come out of the brewing room. I'll arm wrestle you. But yeah, I'm just going to start doing that with my father-in-law. Hey, bro, you want to get your way? Let's do it. And then I'll just Stallone. Right. It's like a switch. Put the hat backwards, and then you do the top roll thing that he does, the little hand thing. It's the end of it. That's a good idea.
Christmas
morning. Let me know. I'll redraft your bylaws and we can put that in there. Make that a requirement.
There you go. Yeah, send them up. Send them up. This is the new employee handbook, sir. This is the manager's agreement. If at any time we disagree to the table, settle it on the table. Because I actually trained that shit, and it would be hilarious. Hilarious.
That'd be fun. All right, Eric.
Murray, how's that beer going down?
You got any questions other than how's the beer? Yeah, the beer's great.
That's all. I haven't heard anything that you guys have said. I've just been watching you guys drink.
Just still watching the beer.
Damn it.
Drooling.
I'm on my phone right now trying to see if I can get a cheap ticket flying to Detroit here. I'll be there by this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit.
No, it sounds good. One question kind of popped to my mind. What you're talking about earlier is that your focus is on brewing. How did you guys – because you guys got good food. We were up there a couple of years ago. And what about the food portion of it? Did you kind of bring someone in that would do that, or how did that go?
Yeah, so when we took over, we had a chef that was stealing from the business that the previous owner wouldn't fire. So that was fun to deal with, where a guy's stealing from you, but you can't fire him, So I had a couple right before the guy did finally get let go. I had a couple fun conversations with him, So. Hey, I know you're stealing. And then he stole. He came in. He never would come in, right? He never would drink with us after a shift. All of a sudden, he's drinking a Bud Light with everybody. And then the next morning, you can tell that the closet that they used to put the money in, which now you have a safe, because why the fuck do you put money in a closet, was knifed open. This guy jimmied the shit open. So we took over from there. I went to another kitchen manager who... Oh my God, this guy had another guy. Cooks have so many personal issues. I don't understand what it is with cooks, but they have a lot of shit going on. They love to burn bridges, and they have a lot of shit going on. So,
Murray,
this guy took over.
What did you used to do?
Yeah,
You cook?
both of us used to be a cook.
I'm right there too. I've got a ton of emotional issues myself. I cooked in Kalamazoo basically the whole time I was there, right? If I wasn't a door guy, I was cooking or managing. We had this kid. He had to leave. This is the craziest shit. So he lived in this apartment with his girlfriend. They had a baby, and our other cook lived above him. They drank one night, and the girl went upstairs while he was passed out downstairs and banged the other cook. So then they had to work together. It was this craziness that was going on. And then we got rid of that guy and brought in a guy from Wyandotte. Very nice young guy. He was in his mid-20s, and he worked for us from 2015 until this last year. Well, over the last few years, we've noticed that he's done a lot of good stuff as far as food. We're the kind of business that does a lot of stuff on analytics. So everything's every quarter, we just go over numbers. What are we selling the most? Nothing is tied down to us emotionally. It's all about numbers. So he did some good stuff as far as that goes. We shared ideas back and forth as far as good food. Then it got to the point where we were assessing the numbers. And we're like, holy shit, man, you're killing us on cost. So over the last 2 years, he had his kid. And when he had a kid, he kind of decided, I'm going to be a prep cook that does the orders and the schedule. And if you're not here on Friday, Saturday, or at least one of those days occasionally as the kitchen manager, you're going to have issues. And then when you have those issues, his thing was oh, well, I don't understand what's going on, or these guys won't listen to me or whatever. And it's well, you're not here to fix it. You can't retroactively fix a problem, right? You have to be there, so if you can't understand what's going on, and what ended up happening is being the prep cook, he's the guy that's going to call somebody back in if he works the night shift and they screwed him over on prep. But then the last thing he did as a manager here was fuck everybody over on Valentine's Day and leave, So we didn't really have a prerequisite menu when it came to it. We've had a lot of different guys in here doing different things. I come from a cooking background. I cooked at Shakespeare's Pub for 5 years. I started there as a door guy, cooked, managed, so on and so forth. So we just we look at what's trending. And you know what? The guy that we let go recently was great. For the most part, he was great. He was a good dude, good guy personally. Just over the last couple of years, kind of fizzled out, got sick of it. Now I think he packs boxes. Perfect, right? Yeah. Take this, put it here. Nobody's mad. You're happy. Go home. Yeah. Watch your kid, right? I like to do a little more than that, personally. So, but yeah, we've just really we look at trends, and I just right before COVID, one of our family friends is a hospitality degree, and he went to culinary school. He was looking at doing something else, and he was like, hey, I'll come and be your kitchen manager. We got him to work one day, and then we had COVID hit, and we were closed. So it was perfect. So now we reopened it's him and I doing orders. We kind of nixed some items off the menu because of meat availability and things like that. Meat went way up. Prime rib we used to do on Saturdays. Prime rib's $10 a pound. Yeah. So yeah, right. We're not selling prime for $35. So it's just things like that. That we've really we're constantly assessing things analytically, and then we're also putting things in that are fun. So right now we bought some brisket before this shit happened, so we paid the old price. We have an awesome big Traeger smoker. So we're smoking that up, doing brisket platter. Today it's brisket sandwich, so we'll probably dig down on that after we're done, right? And just so it's really we're kind of the sandwich burger joint now, that does good entrees. Yeah. And it's quality entrees that we do. So we have a pigtails and cheese. It's that cavatappi noodles that look like a little pigtail, curly pigtail, and then it's Gouda, cheddar, Parmesan, topped with bacon. And it is one of our, especially now that we reassess the menu, bestseller. It's a top. So yeah, I mean, really no prerequisite when it came to the menu either. We kind of came in here. I wanted our menu, and it's getting closer to that. When I was going to open this, I wanted our menu to be Founders. So like Founders, where the 35 sandwiches or whatever in the old Founders, when it was like you pissed in a train car, Founders, right? That's what I wanted it to be. So it was the fact that they had 35 delicious sandwiches in a nice basket, wrapped in, parchment paper with some chips.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot closer to that. Not that I'm like trying to steal Founders' business model, but as far as like what we do as a brew pub, that's what we do well. We do burgers. Burgers are our best seller. Burgers we do the best. Sandwiches we do second best. Why are we doing steaks, right? Steaks now are going to become like a limited time offer thing, especially because of cost. Once these meat plants get back into business. Now some of the burger went back down, pork went back down. So obviously they've been able to get some more of their employees back in. But like some of these pork plants and stuff had, it's 350 people. They had 350 people get COVID. So now when you come back, you can only come back with 175. How are you going to get the rest of the country meat? So that's been a pain in the fucking ass. The last 3 weeks of ordering has been a pain in my ass. And I'm teaching a dude how to do it, right? Teaching a dude how to do it while not having any pars from my previous kitchen manager, just winging it. Yeah. So, and we're reinventing the wheel, so the pars would be out the window anyway. It's like, okay, we typically need, let's say, 1 case of cremini mushrooms because we batter and dip our own mushrooms. Now we need 3 or 4. So it's like this whole thing has been like a total reinventing of the wheel for us, on top of like already kind of reinventing the wheel. Like, hey, it's Valentine's Day. It's one of the busiest days of the year. Bye. Then my wife starts chemo and we're dealing with that bullshit, which is, hey, fucking life. You got to do it. That's just the way it fucking goes. But then you're like, all right, now I got to do this order and I got all this other shit going on. Like, oh, thank God for parents, because my mom came down and helped us so fucking much when like Gene's like at home sick and I'm fucking here trying to teach this guy this or deal with, and she's the GM. Yeah. I'm not the fucking GM. So people are asking me shit that I don't know the answer to. Like, I don't, or shit that I don't have the patience for. That's the beauty of the wife. If she has a level of patience that supersedes my negative level of patience. Like I literally have absolutely, it doesn't exist. Yeah. Slowly it's building with having a child. Yeah. But patience doesn't exist.
You guys are killing me, man. I tell you, first you're drinking the beers and then I hear brisket and the Traeger and I'm like, oh God. Well, you gotta get someone to bring. Yeah, of course. Murray always has some beer left. Let me ask you about that Traeger. A little off topic, but I live in southeast New Mexico, right by the Texas border. In West Texas, barbecue is king. And I've never seen good brisket in Michigan. And then out here, it's like a lot of people have the Traegers, but it's a lot of old-fashioned, let's get the smoker out. I mean, you go to a family get-together on Saturday, and you'll have, with 10 people, you'll have 4 uncles out there with a trailer with 40 pounds of brisket on it because they're trying to compete against each other, just using wood or, charcoal. I've looked at those Traegers. It's delicious. But how do you feel about that rather than the old-fashioned way of just hiring some Texas guy out there shoveling charcoal and wood to the smoker?
In my private life, I'm more of I'll tell you what, the Traeger thing was kind of a behind my back kind of buy, So my kitchen manager used to love to talk to my father-in-law about stuff. My father-in-law loves to just do shit here. So that's how the Traeger came about. I wouldn't have even now that we have the new kitchen manager, the way that they were doing stuff before, like pork and everything, is changed. We're still smoking it for a portion of the time, or yes, with the Traeger we can smoke. It's got a computer on it, right? So you can set it to a temperature and smoke it overnight and it'll turn off, right? Which is awesome. But I'm more of a traditionalist, right? So if I was going to smoke, I'd probably, at home, I have a side carriage smoker, So it's side carriage, you put charcoal and wood in the side carriage of it and it smokes shit. So I'm kind of more of a traditionalist, I would do it that way. I didn't really want the smoker. I don't think we needed the smoker at the time. We needed another piece of equipment. We still do. So that's still hey, $2,000 would have been great, man. So, but I would say in your personal life, if you don't want to shovel that stuff or have to soak the chips and blah, 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 and compete with the rest of these traditional New Mexicans, Traeger's the way to fucking go because it's super awesome to have just like
Yeah.
a pellet fed. Pour a bunch of. It looks like rabbit food. You know, you pour a bunch of these rabbit food pellets in the side, and bam, you're sitting there. And it's most of them, like if you buy the really good ones, they have like a little computer with a temperature probe. Stick the probe in your meat, set the shit, and walk inside. It's like the Ronco rotisserie barbecue. Set it and forget it. Remember that shit? Yep. Set it and forget it. A lot of
the first. What's that, Murray?
Sounds like you're fishing for like you really want one.
He's ready. He wants to compete. He's ready to compete.
So
with these guys.
the first time that I had it, I tasted it, and it was a guy. And I'm like, you don't usually make good barbecue, and he had like smoked chicken or something. And I was like, man, like this is competition worthy. And I was like, how the hell did you do this? And he's like, I bought a Traeger. I'm like, I'm gonna buy a Traeger and hide it, and then I'm just gonna keep my Weber's out there in front of it.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah. Just bring the meat out. Like, cooked it on this, right? You know.
Well, congratulations, Eric. You completely derailed us on this podcast.
At some point, you got to light the match and throw it in the dumpster, Murray, because what the hell else are we doing here?
Exactly.
Always a dumpster fire.
Oh, man.
All right, but with that, he's out. I'm getting low, so we're going to start wrapping this up. Can't thank you
That's
enough.
how we know our episodes are over, when the booze is out.
The booze is out. I got to take a piss, man. So I was just getting ready to be like, guys, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to sit here.
Give us a shout out. Tell everybody, because I got a lot of people in New Mexico down here that listen to this. Tell us about your brewery, where they can find you.
Yeah. So it's Dead Bear Brewing Company. We're in Grayling, Michigan, 2552 South I-75 Business Loop. We're right off I-75. So anybody who's like up in the UP coming down, you stop off, boom, you can keep going down south after you're here. If you're going up, swing in. A lot of people that go to Traverse City come through. I've had more people from Escanaba randomly come in here not knowing that I owned it, like teachers, coworkers. I had a kid that I played Little League Baseball come in here, and one of my beers is Escanaba River Amber Ale. So he goes, who's your brewer? Oh, I played Little League with that guy, you know? So it's that kind of place. Grayling, Michigan. We're northern Michigan. There's a lot of fun things to do up here, whether you're in Traverse City or in this area. We got Lake Marguerite, Higgins Lake, Houghton Lake. People love coming up here, so swing in. We got a hotel right next door. I will personally, if you get over inebriated, throw you in a wheelbarrow and wheel your ass to your room if that happens. Odds that it happens are slim to none, but I will do it. I'll take your room card. I won't make a duplicate, I promise. Maybe I will. Well, I'll see you later. We'll cuddle, just a gentle spoon, and you can come in, and we'll be good.
Nice.
Do you guys ship beer, or are you just selling it locally?
We can't ship beer, so it's basically bootlegging, unfortunately. If I could ship growlers and howlers and stuff, and Michigan is starting to affect those regulations because of COVID. So, like right now, I think we can go out and we could like deliver beer to your house type of thing if you're in Grayling or to your. We're not doing that yet, but the potential's there. It'd be nice if with shit like this going on, if they deregulate us a little bit. The whole industry. But I would imagine that the big companies like Anheuser and stuff don't want it to be deregulated because it'll allow us as smaller entities to do more. So, but they have the money to do it too. So I have no fucking clue. Right. Yeah.
Well, I can give you this shout out at least because this town that I live in New Mexico here has a lot of people from Michigan because it's an oil field town. So I call them fellow Michigan refugees where they all fled during the recession, which is when I left. So I've been out here about 10 years. So all of our New Mexico folks, when you find yourself in Grayling, because when you go back to Michigan, you're going to go up north. And at some point, you're going to at least pass by Grayling, which I think is probably the coolest town in northern Michigan. I love Grayling. So check it out. It's awesome.
All right, I got to take this piss.
All right.
Hard.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
All right.
Clink.
All right. We'll see you guys.
See ya.
Hang on. Don't turn it off just yet. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider subscribing. We'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know what topics you want to hear us talk about on here. As always, you can find me at tacticalattorney.com. You can find Murray at fullvolumesolutions.com. Appreciate it, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.